like your names.
Got it.
Are you going to hang on to this, or do you want it in the stand?
I'll hang on to it, yeah.
Okay, it's up to you. So just because of the layout of this room,
Yeah.
it's forcing a lot of people to look to their left.
Yeah.
But just try and engage this side of the room and the camera once in a while too.
Okay,
Because
got it.
otherwise we're just kind of seeing the side of your face the whole time.
Got it.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah. Try to bring it closer. All right. Oh, I think I lost it. Great. Well, it's hard to follow Dan. That was a great discussion. Thank you so much, Dan, for facilitating this. So I'm here to talk about MyCrypto, introduce it to those of you who are not yet familiar, and for those who are, talk about some of the product enhancements that we've been making and kind of a major release that we've been working towards for the last year. And so we're kind of excited to start talking about this. And similar to the privacy discussion that we had, with MetaMask and Dan, there's, maybe even a controversial kind of security topic that I'm going to bring up, and I hope we can have a lot of great discourse about that. So just kind of a summary of what we've been working on. We've been working on basically a complete rewrite of our wallet interface. So from scratch, we basically decided we need to step back, build a new foundation. It's available right now at beta.mycrypto.com. It's our release candidate 2. If you haven't checked it out, like y'all have laptops, I see them, just go to beta.mycrypto.com. We'd love feedback. It's written in React, TypeScript, Redux, fairly modern stack. We've loved it. And obviously completely open source, MIT, GitHub, MyCrypto HQ, MyCrypto. We're targeting next 2 weeks to launch this to production. So this is the time to tell us if you're writing from scratch. We've got it audited from Cure 53, but if there are security vulnerabilities, we've got HackerOne. You can talk to me. We'd love any last-minute feedback if there is any. We've also started working on desktop applications. They're in alpha. You can grab them right now. Download.mycrypto.com. Let us know, and we'll circle back to that in a few slides. And then as far as developer tools, we've also started building out libraries and basic tooling for the ecosystem. One of these is Shepherd, which is a client-side node balancer, and the other is Drawbridge, kind of a release management verification tool. Get into those in a few slides. So all new MyCrypto. If this GIF works, you get a quick rundown on the UI. UI is very similar, but we've made a lot of enhancements, and after these slides, maybe even get into a demo depending on timeline. All right, so one of the enhancements we've made is our gas slider with default price recommendations. No one wants to go check gas station to get prices. It's recommended. You can change it if you want. And we have advanced options if you need them. You can refresh your nonce. You can change the gas limit. If you know better, you can change the gas limit. We also have a new token scanner. People hate clicking each symbol to get their balances. That's the worst thing ever. We have a token scanner. You hit scan. You uncheck all of the airdrop tokens that you don't care about, and then you're good to go. And you could keep adding custom tokens if you want. So we've also integrated EIP 681 for payment requests. Ligi drove a lot of this. I'm sure there are others. Apologize if I'm not calling them out. But it would be great to see wider adoption of this. I haven't really seen much so far. We've just done the payment request portion, but mobile clients should implement this. It would be great. Bitcoin has done a lot more of this than Ethereum. It's recently merged, so. But it'd be great to see more of this in the space, and we're happy to talk about it and help if there are any clients that need any. All right, so what are these libraries and developer tools that might be helpful to you? Shepherd. So you can check out this demo on overflow.mycrypto.com. Basically what Shepherd is it's a client-side node balancer. So it's like, what does that mean? Instead of, there's Infura Classic. They have massive clusters. They have a bunch of, back-end node balancing. We have, client-side node balancing. So you can instantiate Shepherd, provided a bunch of different node infrastructure, and then you can set various filters. So if you're Infura can handle bounces, but not I don't want them to handle this other thing. You can blacklist certain RPC methods. You can whitelist others. You can say I always want this to go to this specific node provider, and then at runtime we'll bias towards performant node infrastructure. So if we notice that I'll keep picking on Infura. Maybe Infura's get balance calls are really slow, like they have been in the past occasionally. We have a blacklist. Never call get balance on Infura. And completely configurable, dynamic. You can whatever you want to use, and open source, of course. So github.com, MyCryptoHQ Shepherd. Check it out. We love feedback, and we're already integrated this on the upcoming new beta. So we've tested it. It works great. We'd love for you to test it as well. And the other tool, more of a CLI tool, is Drawbridge. So Drawbridge is our release management and verification tool. So like what is that? Basically, if our project, we use Webpack 4, we've altered a little bit, and it's deterministic, and we can kind of leverage that to ensure that we're releasing what we expect to be releasing. So we have independent team members verify that this release is deterministically built from source, and there's no way that like some weird stuff got in. Certain platforms like Electron, unfortunately, like break deterministic builds, so it doesn't work anymore, which really sucks. But for the web, for us at least, with our release process, it works great. We've got tons of docs. We've been using this. If you have deterministic builds already, there's no reason you shouldn't use this. It's really helpful. All right. So even if you use release management and everything is straight when you upload, there's still DNS hijacking. So now we're going to get into kind of this security topic I mentioned. So kind of my nightmare is waking up one morning and going to MyCrypto, and it turns out it's actually my comrade, and we were hacked, and now people over millions of dollars are lost, private keys are stolen. So we will be deprecating private keys on the web. This is kind of a big step. I think that we've been encouraging this, or at least facilitating this. We've started asking, telling users this is not secure. Please stop. Use MetaMask. Use Parity Signer. Integrate with Parity Signer. Use hardware wallets. Anything but private keys in the browser. So, phishing has been crazy. Maybe tens of millions of dollars, maybe $100 million. It's hard to know, but it's been bad. And so I think it's time to stop. We'll be supporting MetaMask, Parity Signer, and hardware wallets in the web, and we're going to only support private keys in this upcoming desktop application as soon as it moves to stable launch. And so, we're starting to see DEXs and even airdrops early. Enter your private key, get this airdrop. It's like, that's quite the risk to get some free tokens or something. And it's not an attack. I think it's been, especially initially, it's been a great way to facilitate low friction user onboarding. But I think at this point, the ecosystem is mature enough where we can kind of all agree that this is probably a bad thing. Even if we're secure, maybe underlying internet isn't, and user behavior for sure this is not secure anymore. So we encourage others to follow suit. We'll be implementing this in the near future. I think users are going to be resisting this. No one wants to change their workflow. You want to unlock that private key on the web. You don't want to have to go download some app. But I think if there's kind of a lot of community consensus around this, we can all decide that it's time to stop. All right, so desktop application. This is where you're going to continue using your private keys if you so wish. Electron-based, we're supporting Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. It's alpha, relatively stable, so we should be hopefully moving that along to stable quickly. And I'm actually going to invite Will to talk about some of the rest of what we're building for the future.
So this is kind of a good cop, bad cop thing. Daniel gets to talk about all the cool stuff we've recently been working on, and now I get to talk about some of the tough problems. I'm not exactly going to be talking about features that we're building for the future. I'm more talking about the process of building for the future, emphasis on responsibly here. So when we were putting together these slides and talking about stuff we were doing, this discussion of private keys on the web, really sat pretty heavily on me. It's something that, despite the latest stuff really flaring up the discussion, it's something we've been talking about for a while, but it's been hard to pull the trigger on pulling that out from users. I mean, as Dan mentioned, you really don't want to break the user flow. But there is more to it than just the user flow. If we're being honest here, there's also incentive for us to make things as easy for users, even when we don't have their best interest in mind. So let's talk a little bit about a lot of us here are from kind of the classic Web 2 product world, and the product life cycle on a Web 2 application typically looks like designers or developers, or sometimes it comes from the community or from support. They come up with a feature or improvement for your application, and you start to build it out. You get some wireframes. You iterate on those. You hand it to a developer. Put together like a proof of concept. Get feedback. Keep going back and forth. That internal process is great. But then it comes to finally getting it into user hands. Traditionally, the most common kind of way of doing this has been to release to users conditionally. Some people do opt-in stuff, but that really self-selects for the type of user who's a little bit more advanced, who's willing to try out edge features. So we've come up with processes such as A/B testing or multi-armed bandit to slowly roll things out to people and understand what's going on. And those kinds of tests are only useful if you have metrics on how people use it. So oftentimes we've been tracking metrics, measuring out how well something is performing, and then choosing the best performer to give to users. This is great, and in a lot of ways I miss this, but it self-selects for certain behaviors that I think on a really early product like the wallets and dApps we're building isn't always aligned with user interests in the right way. When we're thinking about iterating on our stuff, we have to question: are we building a product or are we building a tool? I think an earlier slide mentioned product versus utility. I'm basically talking about that same conflict that we have. So when we're looking at the interests of a product, they don't. This is maybe a little bit too much of a duality, but oftentimes they don't have quite the same incentives aligned. So as a product, you want to acquire and keep users. You want to measure and raise your key metrics. You want to make sure like everybody's doing the right thing, and if they're not doing the right thing, how can we make them, keep them on the happy path? You want to develop your competitive advantages so that people choose you over something else, and you want that